Welcome to Fire Warden Training. In this course, we will be looking at the skills you need to develop to become a fire warden. For those of you who are worried, fire wardens are just traffic police in an emergency. In an emergency, people don't always do what we expect them to do. This is, in part, because we all have a 3 million-year-old computer program in our DNA that no longer works properly. Perhaps that needs a little explanation. Imagine that you are out hunting for food 3 million years ago. Suddenly, a saber-toothed tiger appears. Now you don't have enough time to say, "Isn't that a nice kitty?" because by the time you say kitty, you will probably be dinner. So, your body has developed a stress response to cope. The first thing that happens is blood is pumped to your arms and legs so that you can run away. The blood has to come from somewhere. The somewhere is the front part of your brain that is used to do all your reasoning and planning. That's why it's impossible to plan while in the middle of an emergency. So we practice beforehand, and that's where fire warden training comes in. If a fire started in this room, how long do you think you would have to escape? Surprisingly, it's not as long as you think. Fire spreads very quickly, and in as little as 10 seconds, conditions can become so hazardous that you may not survive. One reason for this is the furniture we have in the room, all courtesy of the petrochemical industry. As it burns, it will fill the room with invisible gases, such as hydrogen cyanide, sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide, all of which are silent, invisible, rapid killers. The smoke we see is just unburnt carbon, but below that at nose level are all of the dangerous gases. That's why you are told to get down low and go, go, go. Down below is where all the good air is, where it's still safe to breathe. In fact, if the smoke is at door sill height, around 2.1 meters, it's time to be out of the room. Our job as fire wardens is to get people out, safely, and quickly. When we try to get people to leave, often they refuse. Why, you might wonder, would anyone not want to leave if there is a fire? One reason is that people are not afraid of smoke. They are afraid of fire, but not smoke.
Surveys have been done and found that when we see smoke, 99% of us are going to first seek more information. Even when we see thick smoke, nearly a third of us are still going to be unsure as to whether we should leave. But when we see fire, all of us leave. Smoke, however, is just as dangerous because of the invisible, deadly gases. The only exception seems to be those in charge of infants or the elderly. They tend to leave straight away.
We only ask people to leave twice, then we take their name and write down where we last saw them. We then pass the information to the chief fire warden, who will tell the fire brigade. It's important to remember that the fire brigade have the authority to make people move. If we try to move them, it may be considered assault. So, if anyone doesn't want to leave it to the fire brigade to sort out. Click the button to hear the evacuation side. When we hear the sound, we get everyone assembled at the exit. We make sure that they only have their keys, and for the ladies, their handbags. Tell everyone no coffee cups are allowed, as they might spill and hurt others. It's very important that we do not evacuate yet. What we are waiting for is advice from the chief warden as to the best path to take when we evacuate the building. Click the button to hear the evacuation alarm. In many buildings there is a 3-minute delay between hearing the first alarm and then hearing the evacuation alarm. This delay is designed to allow time for the chief warden to get to the alarm panel, then assess the situation, and decide on how and when to evacuate the building. Obviously, if it is outside of normal business hours, You can evacuate the building without waiting for the second alarm. Some emergencies might require you to use a different assembly area or take a different path out of the building, which is the reason why you generally wait for the second alarm. Now it's time to make sure that we do not leave anyone behind. It's best to search in pairs, that way each area gets searched twice. One person moves in a clockwise direction, and the other person moves in an anti-clockwise direction. When you enter a room, look everywhere a person could fit, under the desk, behind the curtain, as they could have collapsed and not be visible. If the room is clear, close the door. In hotels, hospitals and nursing homes, sometimes searchers place a pillow outside the door, so that others know that you have already looked there.
If you find anyone that cannot move on their own, take a note of where they are, and advise the chief warden. That way, emergency services will know where to look. If you can, stay with the person, or move them to the stairwell. Generally, stairwells are fire-rated, and the person will be safe for a few hours. The fire brigade has special equipment to get disabled people downstairs, so do not try and move them yourselves.
Now it's time for you to leave. On your way out of the building, tell the chief warden if anyone has refused to leave, or if disabled or injured people are still in the building.
When you get to the assembly area, gather in your work groups, and make sure that everyone is here. The reason that you gather in your work groups is because your work colleagues are more likely to know if someone left the building before the emergency, or may be called in sick. That way, the emergency services will not waste time looking for someone who is not in the building at the time of the emergency. Do not re-enter the building until the chief warden give the all clear. Remember, once you are out of the building, you must stay out of the building.
Thank you for your time.
We hope this presentation has been helpful, and that you feel a little more confident being a fire warden. It's a good idea now to check to see who your chief warden is, and where the assembly point is located, should you need it. You can start by looking at the evacuation diagrams in your buildings, and ask the building manager if you are still unsure.